Asked Michael Fabricant, the Conservative MP for Lichfield, if he wanted to see a return of the death penalty.
No, I don't. But, I do think that from time to time it's worth debating whether or not we bring back the death penalty for murder altogether, whether we say that in certain circumstances where there isn't a shadow of a doubt of the guilt of a person, for example, the murder of an unarmed policeman, circumstances change over time, morality changes over time. It's not an absolute. So it's worth discussing from time to time, but I don't particularly think that now's the time to go back to the past, actually, on this one.
And you did vote in favour of an amendment for reintroducing it for the murder of a police officer on duty. And that position is in keeping with an awful lot of British people. The polling suggests that actually when there's been multiple murders, more than half of British people support the death penalty.
Yes, I saw that polling. But nevertheless, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that we must repeat what everybody generally feels, because people's attitudes do change. For example, when there's been a terror attack, there was recently, that far more people were saying, yes, they should bring back the death penalty, and then we need to take a considered view on this. But I think it's absolutely right for Lee Anderson to have a view. It's not the government's view. But nevertheless, we're individuals, we're elected to Parliament in order to have views, and Lee has a view which is legitimate as much as my view, which is not the same as his, is also legitimate.
Given that so many people do support it, the polling would suggest, and the deputy chairman, and you believe that should be brought up, it's not inconceivable then that somebody could try to say, look, let's bring it forward, let's move this, let's get this in the manifesto. It might be very popular.
I think what would be more useful is to actually say, let's have a debate about it in Parliament. It needn't even be to do with legislation. One has debates on general issues, and it might be something worth doing. Perhaps Lee might be someone who would like to suggest that. But, I'm just very conscious that when we did have the death penalty, there were occasionally miscarriages of justice. And once you find out someone is innocent, it's a little bit too late if they're dead and buried.
Does it matter if the deputy chairman holds views which, from what you're suggesting, are not in sync, and from what we've heard from the Prime Minister, not in sync with the government?
I think it's actually quite healthy, to be honest with you. Look, these issues are views of morality. In the Conservative Party, we don't tend to whip people. We don't tend to instruct members of Parliament to vote on, say, a gay marriage or abortion, or these issues are a free vote. And the death penalty is also a little bit, I would argue, in that sort of area. And while I'm not advocating that we should bring back the death penalty, I most certainly am not, to occasionally debate it is no bad thing.
Why do you want the debate then?
Well, because as you've pointed out, I'm not arguing strongly for a debate, but you're saying that the deputy chairman has a view, and from time to time, isn't it healthy to occasionally debate these things? I would suggest it is.
Do you welcome the fact that Lee Anderson has been given the job of deputy chairman?
Yes, I think he reaches the part that other deputy chairmen do not reach. The guy is a very authentic guy from the north of England, and I think he's good news for the Conservative Party. And there's nothing wrong with holding views, even if occasionally you disagree with the Prime Minister. From time to time, it's refreshing to have someone in the party who actually has his own views and isn't a sort of automaton taking direct instructions from some special advisor and reading out a set answer.